And hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another exciting episode of the Bent Fender Podcast. I'm Nathan Conway, driver of the number 40 stock car. Here we race locally on the dirt, digging taters, as it were. Joined with me, always, my co-host, Wes, the Uke Tire, Lou Allen.
I don't even know what that is.
Hey, man, you're new to the racing game. You've got to learn what a Uke tire is.
I don't know what that is. I don't know if I should be offended or not.
No. You know the tires that are around the out in the inside of the track or out the outside of the track.
So I keep people from being hurt.
Yes.
Oh,
Well,
that's an important job.
Well, I will tell you, the Uke tires have caused many a wreck.
That is an important job. What? I don't like that part of it.
Anyway, another show, guys. It's episode 8. We're back again.
It's
Check it.
like a
Direct
bad.
it. Let's begin.
Well, not like a bad boomerang, but like a boomerang nonetheless.
Yeah. Well, anyway, we got another big show today. Got an up and coming, one of the hottest drivers out there now, especially in the karting world, and just getting his feet under him in the stock car world. Cole Trickle Falloway. You know, a lot of guys may remember the Falloway name from his father, Rockin' Ronnie Falloway, and of course his papaw, as they call him. You know, Danny Falloway has been a friend of the racing community for many a year, and still is, and helps his grandson out a lot. So it's going to be a pretty cool conversation, I think, coming up, and especially because I hope to learn a lot more about the karting side of everything. You know, I race personally with Cole in the cruiser / street stock division, and what have you, whatever track you're at. But you know, he's a pretty cool young man, and I think he's going to be able to give us some insight and some stuff like that, because I know, obviously, you don't know a lot about the karting world either. So,
Well, I've just realized that I'm just going to need a bucket list for racing, since I am learning something new every single week, and I think it's fantastic that I get to learn something new every week. And absolutely, this is checking off 2 boxes on that list for me. It's a driver who is under the age of 18.
yeah,
And a go-kart driver. So
a go-kart driver is he for sure, and he and Josh Evans make a pretty good team, and we're going to ask him about that, and hopefully he'll give us some insight on their relationship and how much that Josh means to him and his racing career. So as to this point, so
I have a feeling you're going to let them know, but I'm going to beat you to the punch. We're going to take another field trip.
we are. Yeah, we're gonna get to go down to Falloway's Auto Sales and interview them, and they've been gracious enough to let us kick their door down and invade their space and get inside their bubble.
I think we should
record
just
our episodes.
plan on doing that every time we record an episode. Is just go places.
Well, I like it, man.
Oh, the things we will see.
Well, the good thing about the equipment we've got right now, especially, is it's pack and play. So
It is.
We can
It is.
we can go to a box and a backpack, and we can go pretty much anywhere we want to go. So
Just need some power and we're good.
yeah, I mean, and it's been working out great. I mean, like I said, we've been on a couple of field trips.
We have.
and recorded some people, and it's worked out all right.
I'm enjoying it. So, what's going on new with you? Anything?
Well, one thing we want to touch on, we've gained a new piece of equipment.
We have. I will be nerdy about this for just like a second because people should know. Recording as we are right now, we're using a 2-channel preamp.
Yeah.
What that means is I can record 2 microphones at once.
Right.
So since the beginning, Nathan and I, we talk, we have a good time, and then he kicks me off a mic and gives my mic to someone else because we've not had the capability to record the way we wanted to and have it sound the way that we feel it needs.
Well, and because I can. So,
It's true.
So don't forget that.
That's,
Well, anyway,
that's the main thing.
So tell them what this piece of equipment means for the future.
What I've purchased for our program is an 8-channel preamp.
Right.
It is actually a 16-channel because it has 8 analog inputs and 8 digital. I'm nerdy. I'm sorry. I can't help it. They need to know because it's big. What this means, bottom line, we're going to be able to record up to 8 people at once. So the stories that we want to get out there and the interactions we want between entire racing families. We can even possibly have co-hosts with Nathan. So it's just going to make the show that much better.
Well, guys, I mean, you got to think about it. Here we are, episode 8, and I know we, it's not. I don't think it's humdrum or anything like that. I think each episode's different, unique, and especially the guests we bring on. But I think that one of the big things is that a lot of people have been asking. Getting several people together, or when we were talking to Jimmy Westerfield when we did his episode, he mentioned that it'd be great to have he and his brother Randy on. He said if you can just get us both in front of a mic and just let us go, he said I swear to you, it'd be entertaining. So
well,
I think it would be.
If you step back a couple episodes, when we talked to Josh Harris,
right,
he told a story that involved him, Jimmy Westerfield, and Rusty Allison.
Mm-hmm.
So how cool would it have been for him to tell that story with them sitting there?
Yeah, and they could chime in on
absolutely. So yeah, it's going to be great. It's going to increase the production value of our show. It's going to keep us innovative and keep us moving onward and upward.
Well, and like I said, that's our main goal. Is I feel like if we just get complacent and we just set our standards to a certain level, I think eventually we're going to fail to grow. And even with the star power of guests that we've been getting at,
right.
And they've been all heavy hitters. There is nobody better than each of the other, and they've all been on the same level, and they're all equally important to us.
They are,
and just not just from a standpoint of we want to hear their stories, man.
Sure.
We want to know all about them, but they're willing to help us succeed.
Absolutely.
And just they don't have to do anything but talk, and that will help us succeed. So guys, this episode's coming out. On what's the day?
It's going to be May 4th.
Yeah, May the 4th be with you, buddy.
Nerd. Now who's being a nerd?
Hey man, that's for my son.
It is.
He loves it. So.
Douglas loves Star Wars.
He does love Star Wars. But anyway, so I think if we try to reach a level and just keep pushing ourselves, and it doesn't have to be big steps,
Nope.
just baby steps. It doesn't have to be. We don't have to get like 16 people on at the same time. I get where that would end up being, kind of it'd be like herding cats.
Well, plus at this point in time, I don't have like that Lucas Oil money.
Yeah, that's true.
I've got my day job money, so we do it as we can afford it.
We ain't moving on up yet.
Much like racing, you do it as you can afford it sometimes.
Exactly right, and that's some of the stuff we've got to look at is one piece at a time, and we're getting there, guys. We're getting there. We've got another set of headphones already coming. We need to get another mic, and we can get 3 on at the same time, and that would be pretty cool. So,
sure.
We just onward and upward. Like you said, we don't want to take away from people either. We want to give people their own equal time and what they need to accomplish and want to accomplish by coming onto our show, reference their racing program or whatever they've got going on. We want to hear about it. So,
all that being said,
well, yeah, I wanted to get into this real quick too. Over 400 downloads, man, to this point.
That's big stuff.
Or subscribers or what?
It's
downloads?
Downloads.
Yeah,
it's
okay, 400 downloads. And we said, hey guys, if you hit 300, hit 375, then we do a giveaway. So I think what we're gonna do here fairly quickly. But we haven't hit the 300. Here's the thing. I'm gonna do 2 giveaways. All right. I'm gonna do one because we hit the goal on the podcast's downloads.
We didn't just hit the goal. We kind of shattered
it. We smashed the goal.
Kind of shattered it.
And I think this one gonna keep going up, man. This is gonna get us. Hopefully we get to 4.25 with this one. So
at least
we were definitely over 400. And if we get to those 300 likes, guys, tell your friends about Conway Racing Team on Facebook. If we get those 300 likes, we're gonna do a second giveaway. The first one, and I talked to Jimmy Westerfield. I think what we're going to do is we're going to give 2 general admission passes away to Windy Hall Speedway. I've got to talk to Misty Westerfield and work out the logistics, but I'm going to do so in the very, very near future, and we're going to make sure that you get 2 general admission passes. They'll be good for any race throughout the rest of the 2018 racing season. This is not the 2000 racing season. That was quite a couple of days ago or something. But and I'm gonna try.
There's more.
Well, I'm gonna try to get a food voucher to the Slide Job Cafe there at Windy Hall Speedway. So if that's going to be for the podcast downloads. For the second thing, if we can hit that 300 mark, and we're close. We got 286. We're at 286 on the racing page on Facebook. So Conway Racing Team on Facebook. Like it, follow it. Okay, we hit that 300. I'm going to do the same thing for Cedar Ridge. So I'm gonna work with Angie and Richard down there and see what I can do. I know I can get the tickets, but we're going to see about getting a food voucher to their wonderful concession stand that they have up there on top of the mountain. Wes, you have not yet been to Cedar Ridge Speedway. You will understand what it means to park in the bottoms of the pit out near Highway 70 and have to walk to the top of the mountain to go get your concessions.
I want to support the track, but I might have to bring a cooler with me that day.
No, it's all right, man. No, you don't want to do that, but
No.
But so we're gonna do that, guys. I'm rambling a little bit, but that's what I do.
So quickly before we jump into the episode, because we need to get in the episode.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Motor's almost coming together.
Yeah, we're getting there, man. We get paint. It's orange.
Got a great paint job on it.
It's wait a minute. Don't go that. If you saw this thing,
I did see it.
If you get 4 miles away from it, it doesn't look that bad.
But you can see it from space, so
yeah, you can. It's orange.
important.
It's a Chevrolet, so it's got to be orange. A Chevy engine, or Chevy orange. So anyway, yes, the motor's being painted, and it's 3/4 of the way assembled, and get everything, and then we can get ready to put the motor back in it. Talk to Josh Tyler, High Octane Racewear and Graphics, and want to take a quick second to go ahead and say that Josh has come on to sponsor the podcast.
Yep.
Is going to be a podcast sponsor for at least the next couple of months, 2-3 months.
Next little while at least, yeah.
Yeah, so we've been talking to him about a wrap. They've knocked it out. It's going to be cool.
Saw the proof for it today.
Oh, yes, sweet, dude.
It's a brand new look.
Solid gold. It's not a lot of gold, but
it's going to be cool.
Yeah,
it's going
to be different than anything we've got. So not a whole lot to do to get the old Conway race machine ready to go. Just odds and ends, man. It's just elbow grease and go,
Hopefully next weekend we'll be able to put some rubber to the dirt. Maybe
2 weeks. I don't know.
2 weeks.
Maybe next. You never know. Barbecue Fest next weekend, so I don't know what's going to happen.
just keep an eye out for Nathan on the track.
Yeah, that's right.
So
real quick before we get into the episode there, and we want to because we don't want to take anything away from Cole. You can find us on Facebook, as I mentioned earlier, Conway Racing Team, Twitter @Conway Race Team, Instagram Conway Racing. As always, our website www.conwayracingteam.com. Our sponsors, Mach 5 Race Cars and Parts, Fairview IT Management, Martin's Towing and Recovery, Glenstone Construction, Chad's Barbershop, Slingshot Media Group.
We are affiliated.
Red Star Graphics. Buddy.
Well, thank you.
Red Star Graphics.
Thank you.
That is Wes's new company, for anybody that didn't know. Red Star Graphics. He designs all kinds of different things, and he designed our shirts this year, as well as another shirt design. So he's getting there. Business cards, gaming logos, anything, just give him a call. He's kind of getting started in the game, back in the game. So brand new businessman, got his license just this week, so it's a good deal. So Red Star Graphics, you find him on Facebook, and or contact Wes Lou Allen.
That's me.
Wes, the Uke Tire Lou Allen, on there. So as always, we're affiliated with Casper Racing, Phantom 309 Racing, Blaze Mountain Racing. If you want to find the podcast real quick, you can find that all you Apple users on iTunes, like me, all the Android users like you,
like me,
like Wes, is on Google Play, the Google Play Store. You can download the Podcast Addict app. We're on there. Podbean app. That's where our podcast is hosted. You can find us on Stitcher, Spotify, YouTube, the website. You can listen to them through the website. Facebook. Yeah, we can link to it on Facebook. So, guys, we're throwing the Hail Marys out there for you. All we need you to do is catch them. and just give us a listen. I don't think you'll be disappointed. If you
Absolutely
do.
not.
Just waste an hour or 2 hours of your time, and just have a good time with us. So, man, without further ado, I think we need to go ahead and throw it to the commercial break.
Agree.
I will throw it. I hope I don't throw my arm out. So we're going to go to a commercial break. We're going to come back on the other side with Cold Trickle Falloway.
Let's face it, we love racing, and we need to keep those race machines in tip-top shape to stay competitive. That's why we rely on Mach 5 Race Cars and Parts, located at 2035 West 2nd Street in Owensboro, Kentucky. They specialize in stock cars, but you'll find all the parts you need for your racing go-karts as well. They are your go-to experts for parts, wheels, tires, fuel, and a wide array of other items to keep you on the track. They have hundreds of parts in stock and can special order thousands of others. Give John Hayden a call today at 240-5587.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're back. Another big show today. I can't say that enough. They're just getting bigger and bigger every time. I'm going to come in with one of the hot new talents in the sport. He's been around a little while, but he is making a name for himself and a long history of his family in racing. Now, none other than Cole Trickle Falloway. Cole, thanks for coming on the show, buddy. Welcome.
Thank you for having me.
Hey, man, you know, we can't thank you enough for coming on and supporting us, and we want to support you right back. So, man, we'll just dig right into it. You know, tell them a little bit about yourself, you know.
I'm racing go-karts and street stock now. And
Yeah.
I mean, we're just kind of trying to schedule everything where we can go race both sometimes.
Well, I guarantee you, man, your schedule seems like it's pretty hectic. You know, a lot of times, especially with the kart racing, and even now dipping into cruiser street stocks. You know, around here locally, had the pleasure. I raced with you myself, and that's pretty cool to another driver in our class. So, you know, that's pretty neat that you were able to do both, and you just being still a high school kid. You know.
Yeah. It's kind of hard having school and trying to find time to work on go-karts and race cars, but we find a way to do it.
Well, and you know, I guess we got to preface the episode by saying we want to apologize to Cole because we're interrupting his race car time right now, but he's given up that time to come on and support us, and again, you know, that's a pretty cool deal. Buddy, the Falloway name, been around racing for years and years and years, since before my time, that's for sure, with your grandfather and your father, and, you know, how long have you been in the sport? I mean, did you start going when Ronnie was still racing, or you know, tell us how it all started.
Yeah, ever since I was a baby, I've been around, local racing, everything like that. Whenever Dad was racing modifieds, and whenever I was about 4, he got me a go-kart, and then we got with Josh, and just kind of went up from there.
Now you're talking about Josh Evans.
Yeah.
Helps you out a whole lot. You know, it seems to be a pretty good partnership. You guys really seem to do well, especially, you know, when you go to some of these kart races. I know he's been a big help to you.
Yeah, I started running adult stuff about 2 years ago, and we've won a lot since then, even with both of us running adults. Like this winter, every big race we went to, either I won the big show of the night or he won it, so it works out pretty well.
Well, that's pretty cool to know that, you know, when you show up at the racetrack, you're going to be, you know, one of the karts to beat. And, you know, and it's not because of anything, but you guys put in the work, you know. I think, is that how it goes?
Yeah, a big thing in go-karts is tires, and I spend a lot of my time working on go-karts, cleaning up go-karts and getting them ready, and he always spends his time working on tires, so.
Well, you know, tell us a little bit more about it. We had, on the last episode, you know, we had John Hayden, and Hayden is, you know, he's involved in a lot of the go-kart stuff from the promotional side, and he sells a lot of chassis and whatnot down there. But take us through some of the go-kart stuff that people may not know, and you know, no secrets obviously, but you know, but some of the stuff that people may not know.
How's
it different than stock cars? Is what I'm
saying. Just stock cars, you have all your suspension and stuff, and you don't have any suspension or anything on go-karts, and almost every time it comes down a lot more to tires and driver than just the setup of the car, race car.
Well, you know, I guess you're right, because there's not any suspension on them.
Yeah.
So, you know, tires, a lot of times I guess you guys are running on slicks.
Yeah.
And things like that. Do you run any asphalt stuff?
I've never ran asphalt stuff. Josh has, like, a long time ago, and they raced at KMS, but I haven't myself.
Yeah. So it's mainly dirt for you.
Yeah.
You grew up on the dirt, especially, you know, with your family doing what they've done in racing. But so your dad got you interested in the sport. Your grandfather. Tell us a little bit about their racing days and what you remember as a kid. How you started out, and, you know, did you start pitting their cars? And
I remember going to Cedar Ridge, or it was Soggy Bottoms then, and Dad racing with Josh Harris and all of them every weekend. Windy Hollow, running 2-3 day weekends every weekend. Just the way it used to be, and now it is. It's just changed a lot, but I remember going to all them racetracks locally every weekend with Dad.
Well, he, you know, and I remember, you know, a lot of guests, we throw it back to Rockin' Ronnie Falloway, you know, and I remember, I tell you, the first, I rode in a cruiser car It was Shane Sullivan's cruiser car. I rode with Misty Tucker, and it was pretty funny because we were in the same race with Ronnie. He was driving One-Eye Tommy Brown's car, and that's some of the stuff I remember, especially the old Pops chassis and things like that. Building those out at the junkyard, and man, a lot of great memories out there, man. What's your is stock car racing your favorite form of motorsports, or do you like other things? And karting, is along those lines. But are you interested in drag racing or mud bogging or?
I've really never got into anything besides circle dirt track racing. I mean, I've been around some mud bogging and stuff, but drag racing, I've just really never been interested in stuff like that.
Yeah. Well, and it's a big thing around here, especially, and it used to be. We talk about the good old days and how racing was. It has changed a lot, and I want to get your take on that here in a few minutes when we do the state of racing. But stock car racing has been in your blood for years and years, so that's a pretty cool deal. Looking at you growing up in the sport, did you ever have any drivers that you looked up to? Different guys. I mean, I know your dad for sure, but talk about some of those guys which you grew up racing. You remember some of the old dogs, maybe? Or?
Yeah, I remember watching Jimmy, my uncle, all the time. I always liked watching him, and Randall Sweeney too. I remember he went on there for a little while, won a bunch of races in a row.
Yeah, Randall was tough, man.
Yeah, I remember watching Fuzzy whenever I was growing up. Just people like that.
Well, and that's sad too that we've lost Clay, and I don't know what your relationship was with him, but he looked up to by a lot of people.
Yeah.
So and especially Ryan. We've lost to several young guys in the sport, but talking about young guys, I want you to tell us a little bit, if you can, what it's like being a young guy in the sport.
I mean, you kind of think about it, but once you get in the car and you're on a racetrack, it really doesn't bother you. Like, you never think about nothing like that.
Well, I mean, do you get? I guess it's different because you've got veteran guys and you yourself, obviously, of the karting scene and just starting into the stock cars. But the karting scene, you're definitely a veteran. You could classify yourself as that, or I would. But what is it? Is it different? Is it harder? Do guys treat you different, or?
Not really. I mean, in go-karts now, I moved up to the adult classes. They'll kind of like rough you up every once in a while, but once you get in there and kind of get back with them and rough them up, if they do it to you, then they really just kind of stop doing it.
So you're not afraid to trade a little paint,
No.
is what you're saying?
Yeah.
Man, I need to go out to your car and get some of my paint back. I think you might still have a little bit of mine on there, but. It's been cool so far, man. Just racing with you and watching you, because I don't get to a lot of the kart races, so I don't know a whole lot of what goes on, in a kart day versus a stock car day.
The go-kart races were always a lot more busy. Like, I mean, some of your stock car races you qualify and stuff, but go-karts we run light, medium, heavy, which is 3 classes a day. And you're always back and forth, when we start at 8, 9 o'clock in the morning until late at night. It's just never nonstop.
So is there a lot of things you have to do? I mean, like, break down your typical, do you guys have to, change weights around? You guys have to switch engines? Because I know it's different than in a stock car. But
we mostly, I mean, you're always changing tires every time you come on and off a racetrack, and then you have to wash them, and just depending on gear, you sometimes have to change a clutch driver instead of just rear gear, just stuff like that.
Yeah, I know that they don't have rear ends and things like it's a straight axle, I guess, and so you guys have to. I guess you got to set your gear by your cog. I guess you have on your straight axle. Is that? I mean, are they harder to dial in, or
I mean, they're not really harder, but. Just like I said, a lot of it's tire and tire prep and how thin or thick the tire is, or how new or old it is. It changes a lot of how the go-kart is.
Do you guys? And I've seen videos, especially with Josh washing tires.
Yeah.
Is it kind of different? I guess when we run our racing tires on the stock car side, we have to grind our tires a lot
Yeah.
to get that. Is it the same? Or
I mean, some of your 2-day shows in go-karts, you'll have to refinish the tires it just depends on if you need reruns or stuff like that. But most of the time, we just run all our stuff that weekend, and we'll bring them back home, and Josh will refinish them during the week before we go again.
Well, that's pretty neat, man. Because and this is cool for me because I'm starting to learn about some of the stuff, and we definitely want to get out to watch more kart racing.
Yeah.
And it's a lot better, even these kids, today, and it's a good starting point, I think, for the youth. Than jumping in those big heavy stock cars and trying to run with 400 horsepower, under your foot. But do you get to travel? I mean, I know you get to go to some shows, but do you have shows that you like to hit? Are they different ones every year, or do you go to the same races?
In go-karts, we always have our same shows during the winter. Like most of the time, we go to Batesville and King Kings and Emma Indoor, and your local stuff like Russellville and stuff like that. But outdoor, we got our race in State Line, Ohio, that we go to. We went to it last year, was our first year, but we're going to go back this year. And like the 50,000, they didn't have it last year, but they had it the year before. And I mean, just big races like that you can pretty much count on every year.
Right. Well, tell us, whereas we're looking at the kart side, it seems to be very, very lucrative in the terms of purses that you find versus what we do. Even. Yeah. But and it's not any less expensive from what I hear, than a race car is. But is that do you guys just focus on that, or do you guys just like to hit tracks to say you race there, or just to hone your skills?
I mean, we always try to travel to different tracks, but we mostly look at what it's paying that weekend because it's hard to go somewhere 2.5 hours away and only race for 500 to win whenever you can go 3 or 4 hours away and race for 2,000 or 3,000 to win.
Well, and going up and down the road like that, it's pretty cool that you have your family and stuff like that. And I know you guys, I've seen you take your camper and things, but do you just set up at the racetrack or?
Yeah, normally, like 2-day shows or even 1-day shows, we'll normally get there Friday night and stay the night, but yeah, we just set up at the racetrack.
Do you guys, you get to get any time in, any family time, or is it all business when you're there?
Most of the time it's all business, unless like we go down earlier the night before and kind of sit outside by the motor home, but that's about the only time.
So it's super busy on a race night there. Average, and I guess you could say it like this too. I mean, we talk about racing here locally on our dirt tracks, and we get a 15-car field. 20-car field, and that's a big field.
Yeah.
But you guys, there could be 200 or 300 go-karts show up.
Mm-hmm. Like it all goes by your classes too. Like at Dumpling Valley, the last race we went to, there was 30 or 40 in light, medium, and heavy. But some of these races you go to for 1,000 or 2,000 win, there'll only be 15 or 20 go-karts in them classes.
All right. Well, what class do you normally run?
Since I started running the adult classes, I always run light, medium, and heavy, or medium and heavy.
So I guess I want to understand.
Yeah.
So talking about, light, medium, heavy, are those 3 different classes? You have to run 3 races a night?
Yeah. It's light's 325, and that's weight. Medium's 350, and heavy's 375. Then below that, you have all your junior classes, and they run restrictor plates in them classes, junior 1, junior 2, and junior 3.
Well, that's pretty crazy that it's just 25 pounds for each one. And to run 3, do you guys have heats?
No, normally we just qualify and run features.
What's normal feature in a kart race?
How many laps?
Yeah.
It just depends. Like the 5,000 at State Line, they ran 50 laps for it, but most of the time it's normally around 20 or 30.
That's not too bad. 20. But then again, no power steering.
Yeah.
And, you've got to... I see you guys leaned over and helping that weight, transfer in those carts, and there's not a lot of real estate there.
No. A big thing in go-karts is you got to teach yourself to change the way the go-karts handle them just midway through the race, like start trail braking or lifting, burping in the middle of the corner, or sometimes you can even move yourself in a seat to help the way the go-kart's handling.
Well, you run on, I guess when I want to, to that point, I want to say, what's the you have a different sizes of racetracks they run on? Do they, what you're going to be up against when they make it, or?
Yeah, I mean, normally most of these tracks we've at least been to once before, but some of them are new, and we mostly just have to look at pictures and decide on gear, and then like a lot of the dirt will change, like what you're prepping with and how thick or thin the tires got to be, stuff like that.
Well, I've seen some of the pictures and some of your videos that your mom and your dad post. Man, those tracks just black up.
Yeah.
Just black slick. And does it come to a point where you kind of feel like you're running on asphalt?
Yeah, especially like some of our indoor tracks, because they get so much bite in them, it almost feels like you're racing on asphalt.
Well, and that's cool because, it seems some things translate. I mean, I know like we rely on a lot on suspension, springs, and shocks and things, but it seems just like weight and tires is pretty much what your whole game is, other than driving ability.
Yeah, that's pretty much all it is. Like, I always looked at it as whenever a race car track rubbers up, you consider it getting slick, but whenever a go-kart track starts rubbering up is whenever it starts getting faster.
So it starts picking up.
Yeah,
is what happens.
Mm-hmm.
What are the speeds you guys usually?
It just like dumps a pretty good sized track, and I think we were average like 60 around there. But I mean, obviously it slows down whenever you get on your smaller tracks and stuff like that.
Well, do you run a lot of, or do you like to? And I know they kart all year long, pretty much. Do you like outdoor tracks better, or do you like indoor?
I always liked our indoor stuff better, which, I mean, a lot of our winters we can run up front a lot too, but, I mean, I always just like indoor tracks more than I do outdoor stuff.
Or is it, I mean, weather is, I guess, is not a factor on an indoor race, but I'm wondering how the prep is versus an outdoor race. I mean, is it more changing over the day, or does it stay the same?
It's about like an outdoor track. Like, obviously, the first time you hit the track isn't going to be real good, and then it just kind of progresses and gets better throughout the day.
Well, because these tracks around here are, they get very, very fickle, depending on how much rain you've had, how much sun you've had for the week, and you're learning a lot of the stuff, on that side of it. But man, it's pretty cool, man. Like I said, I'm just learning so much about freaking go-karts, man. And now I kind of want one. I'm gonna trade mine in. No, I couldn't do that, man. I'd probably crash or something. You know what I'm saying? But well, I tell you what, man. We're gonna go ahead and throw it to commercial real quick. Take a quick break, and we'll be back on the other side with Cole Falloway.
All right, sounds good.
We've got a lot of great friends and sponsors here at the podcast, and we want to take just a quick second to recognize one of them. It's going to be Martin's Towing and Recovery out of Owensboro, Kentucky. Anytime that you need any locksmith services, wrecker services, or roadside assistance, don't hesitate to give them a call. 270-929-0718. Like I said, give them a call, 270-929-0718. That's 24-hour service. And we're back on the Ben Fender podcast. We're back here with Cole Falloway. We've got to mention at the top when we started with Cole here, we've taken another field trip, and we're down here at Falloway's Auto Sales. They've been, kind enough to let us come down and interrupt their day. It's a big day down here. You working on race cars? They're still working in the shop out there, and then Mom is all your new apparel's come in.
Yeah.
So, and those shirts look pretty sweet, man.
Thank you. Yeah, they're still working out there in the shop, and there's a couple guys over there working on a race car, and I was trying to sell a go-kart too all in the middle of it.
I saw, and we want to talk about that. Shaggy was here, Barry Snyder. He was hanging around the shop. You never know who you'll see around here, that's for sure. But you got a lot of friends, that stop by for sure.
Yeah, Roger's over there helping on a race car. Nick, Dad, Papa, they're all over there helping on a race car right now.
And then here we are taking up your time here working. But I want to get back in a little bit of the kart stuff. We kind of want to stay on that vein for just a few minutes. We talk about our local tracks being Cedar Ridge, Windy Hollow, Western Kentucky Speedway. I don't think you've ever got the chance to run it at Nebo, but hopefully you will one day.
Yeah.
But, you talk about what are your local tracks on the kart side?
Our local stuff, our indoor stuff is like Russellville and Greenville and stuff like that. And then whenever we go outdoor, we got Rio over there, and we always go over there whenever they put up some money. And then Greenville Outdoors, we go there. just places like that aren't very far away. But then obviously we got all of our stuff that's further away that put up some money. That's normally where we're at. We're always traveling a lot.
Well, you hit on it a few minutes ago on the $50,000 race. Tell us about that, how that works, and how that, man. I mean, you just think of $50,000 for a go-kart race.
Yeah.
I mean, we wouldn't know what to do for a $50,000 stock car race. I mean, people be coming out of the woodwork. But tell us about that. I mean, how how that comes about, and how that big money that they can pay that stuff.
Yeah, the last one they had was at Sykeston, Missouri, and you obviously had all your big guys from down south all come up, and everybody from the Midwest, and all of us from here. Everybody was there. I think they had 70 or 80 go-karts that registered for the 50,000 to win. Then they had like a 20,000 to win Junior 3 race, and that's what I ran. I wasn't running adults at the time, and I've led a 10,000 win race and came close to winning it and ended up getting wrecked. And then the 20,000, I was actually really fast about lap 30. It was a 50-lap race. I was really fast about lap 30 in it and ended up getting caught up in a wreck in it too. We just never had any even decent luck at the big races like that.
Well, is it, talk about those races and how, we always listen to Richard Petty when he would always say, you can spend the entire race putting yourself in a position to win and
Yeah.
Things will dictate the outcome out of your control. And guys get pretty bloodthirsty for especially for 20,000 to win. But is it more of a cutthroat thing, or is there more of a gentleman's agreement? Because you can't really bang fenders. You know?
I mean, the first 10,000 they had, I started 29th in it and got up to 6th and just ran out of time. And then the 20,000, I started 23rd in it and was in second at one point and then fell back and then got caught up in a wreck. But, I mean, it's just kind of work your way up through there and try not to get caught up in everybody else's crap where they're trying to win it towards the beginning of the race. Sometimes it's out of your hands, though, where you can't control it.
Well, guys are notorious, and I've seen it 100 times, man. And you have to, just in your short time in the big car stuff, people trying to win it on the first lap, man. You cannot. It's a proven fact. You cannot win that race on the first lap. No matter what you do. How are those big races like that? Normal day at those. How do they break them down? I mean, if you've got 80 carts, especially in your class or whatever, how do they determine who's going to start the big race?
They normally do a first round qualifying. They'll do a first round for every class and take, maybe 10, 15 out of it. And then anybody that didn't make it, they'll do a second round for them and take 10, 15 more out of that, and that'll line up your field for the A-main.
So you're looking at about 30 carts.
Yeah.
You can only get in it. Well, and you think of some of these tracks, 30 carts is a ton. As small as they are, but they do take up space, and that's a lot of racing. So, is your preference the kart stuff, or are you with what you've got to experience in a stock car?
I like the car stuff, but it's kind of hard to just stop racing go-karts now, especially whenever I won almost $6,000 in 3 races this winter. And especially like during the winter, I always want to keep doing kart stuff because then you're just working on a race car and you never get a race any if you're not. But I like the car stuff. I've had fun with it. I've only raced 7 or 8 times now and had fun every time. So it's just going to have to see where it goes from here.
Well, I guess it is different, and you have done the kart side so long that, do you think, I guess what my point I'm getting at is, does it help you to be able to race all year? And I know, like I said, a lot of things don't translate, and we covered some of that, but driving skill, seat time in a go-kart seems to me that it's going to help you in a stock car.
Yeah, a lot of my stuff, like trail braking or like trying to change the way the go-kart is with my gas and brake has helped me in the race car too, trying to change the way it handles with the gas and brake too.
Well, seeing a kart, obviously you guys aren't sideways hanging it out in the corners and things. Yeah. If nothing else, you're leaning into those corners like the superbike guys. But, with a race car, it is different considering the fact that, you have to really drive those cars with those rear tires.
Yeah.
And, it seems to me like the jump, because we talk a lot of guys being kart guys and for years and years, and then making the jump. And the one good thing about you that I've seen, and I've got to sit back and watch some of the stuff, is you've enjoyed some early success. I mean, I know didn't you win a couple of heat races maybe? Or?
Yeah, I've won one. I won the first night out. Yeah,
a win's a win.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. And you did, and you I know last Saturday at Cedar Ridge did pretty well.
Yeah, I came from 7th to 3rd in the feature, and I felt like I was just fast first and second place. Just kind of ran out of time. We spent a lot of laps under yellow, but
I saw that video, and yes, they did spend a lot of time under yellow, and that's death on those tires sometimes.
Yeah.
And but man, the car looked really good, and you look like you look like a natural in that car to me.
Yeah, I've still got stuff to learn, and we're still learning the car, trying to make it better every weekend. But, I've still got stuff to learn with getting by people and just learning how to get by them, just stuff like that, and how to change the car, like learning what the car's doing.
Yeah, because, you think about, loose and tight and different things that you have to know, a driver needs to know when he's out there racing. But a lot of things that you have to know, too, is where the sides of your car are, where the front of your car is. With the kart, I guess you could say, that guy, you could literally just touch the guy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And you're right there with him, side by side. So, I want to ask you about being a driver and a student, because you are still in high school, but you put in a lot of hours down here. Do you find it tough being both?
Sometimes it is. I come down here every day, work on go-karts and race car, and then as soon as I get home, I do some homework. And also, I play iRacing too. I play it in between doing homework. Just stuff like that.
iRacing is one of the big things that's starting to get around, and they've got several formats on there. And I know a lot of people that do it. I haven't been fortunate enough to do it myself, but does that help you out some?
I feel like it does. Just like you said, learning where the sides of the car are. I feel like that helps me too. Learning where the front of the car is and stuff like that, and then learning the track too. Like as it slickens up through the night, like it does that on iRacing too.
So it's kind of progressive to where, realistically, you could start out on a heavy, tacky track and end up on a black slick track. Mm-hmm. And a lot of times you talk about finding out where the sides in front of your car are until you hit that other guy. Then you figure out where it's at. But man, that's pretty cool that you can be. And we just talked to your mom just a couple minutes ago, being under break, but she said talking about your straight A student,
mm-hmm.
and that in itself is something to be proud of, but to be able to maintain that and then be able to maintain what you're doing, with all your extracurriculars, going into racing.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I'm doing a lot of engineering classes in school too, and trying to get some of my early college stuff done. That way I don't have so long after school if I do go to college, which I'm planning on it, but try to get some of it knocked out now that I'm in high school.
Well, that's never a bad idea, and again, man, somebody like me is, it's been a little while since I've been out of high school, and, thinking back on my days, I was around the racetrack in high school, but I wasn't able to do kind of some of the stuff you were doing. So that's, to me, that's pretty cool. Take us through real quick, and it could be some of the big races, or it could be just one of the local tracks, and not that they're any, less impressive. But your typical day when you go karting, from the time you get up to what you have to do when you get there.
Yeah, mostly just getting up and get ready in the morning, and then we go up there and get ready for the driver's meeting, do the driver's meeting. Then whenever we get back, Josh's already working on tires as soon as we get up that morning, getting stuff ready. Then we got practice, and we go out. Sometimes they do 2 rounds of practice, and sometimes just 1. Sometimes they do a round of open practice, like 30 minutes, and then do a 15-minute one right after that. But then after practice, we obviously go straight into qualifying. It's just kind of like a nonstop thing. We never really have breaks at go-kart races. Where at race car races, you get there, I mean, in the afternoon, and then you start practice, heat racing, race features. But at go-karts, you just nonstop all day long.
So, I mean, and that's a good, well, I say it's a good thing. And I don't know how you view it because, you've been at the racetrack, several nights now, and getting out there late and getting home late and things like that. Does that normally, do the track officials, like at a kart race, do they try to, because you say, you have a lot of stuff you have to accomplish in that sort of time. Do they try to get the show in, get it out?
Yeah, I mean, sometimes you'll start at 8 o'clock in the morning, you'll race until like 12, 1 o'clock that night all day long. But like Dumpling Valley the other weekend, we got out of there 6, 7 o'clock that afternoon. They rolled on with the show pretty quick. And a lot of it's just kind of got to do with how many yellows are in each feature and if they call the time limit and just shut the race down. Because some of the races, like especially like your Junior 2, Junior 3 races, a lot of them will have a lot of yellows. And if they don't set a time limit, they'll be out there for a long time.
Well, I've seen races that would never end, man.
Yeah.
We've seen mini stock races and even modified races.
Yeah.
It's crazy, but that's pretty. Are they pretty strict? Do you have a sanctioning body that governs stuff like that, or is it multiple sanctioning bodies? Or
yeah, I mean, you got like there isn't really like there's series like Midwest Max's series and then our Burris series around here. But then a lot of your races will just be like themselves. They'll have their own rules, but most of the time your rules are the same at most tracks. But there's really no like sanctioning body like that in go-karts.
So there's not like a karting association that really handles what you do around here.
I mean, you got like your tires that you got to run. Like that's a lot of it too. Is like your Burris. That's a lot of us around here. We run Burris on outdoor, but then we go indoor racing. It's all Max's stuff.
So you're talking about tire brands,
yeah,
and difference between the two, obviously, or
come indoor time, like our Max's stuff, we have to wipe a lot more, roll stuff on the inside of them. But our Burris stuff outdoor, we don't really like wipe a bunch unless we're at a track that doesn't get really fast, or like we don't really ever roll stuff on the inside of Burris.
So they're just Are they real sensitive, or do they not react well, or
Our Burris stuff, I mean, just the tire rubber and the way it's made different than Max's are. You really just don't ever have to roll stuff on the inside of them. A lot of your stuff is done on the outside with the prep.
Now you talk about rolling things on the inside. Is that before you mount the tire, or is that something that you?
No, I mean
don't give away any secrets now.
Yeah,
Don't do that now.
It goes in through the valve core and then you roll it on the inside with the wheels on.
So your track, I mean, and we talk about dirt Hoosiers and just the stuff that a lot of the stuff we're limited to, whether it was the old ASs or the Ds or but now you've got tires. I mean, do you go through tires a lot, or can you use those multiple different races? Or
go-karts, we go through tires a lot. Like indoor stuff on our Maxes, sometimes we can rerun them just depending on what the track does. But Burris outdoor, we mostly have brand new tires all the time, most of the time.
So just eat them up? Or?
Yeah, they don't really just eat them up, but like some of these tracks you go to, you can't rerun a tire that's already been ran, or it's not as good as brand new stuff.
Right. Well, and I'm learning about this, and seeing this is the good thing about it. I'm learning on the fly here. But do you ever have a problem when we talk about tires glazing over, and you can just lose all your grip in a stock car? But do you have that to where you guys run and run and run, say you'll just get like a 10, 15 lap run, and bam, caution for 5, 6, 8 laps? Do you have tire fall off during that, or do you have to do anything to keep them?
Yeah, I mean, if you don't have enough prep down in the tire, if you have too much down in it, it'll especially change the go-kart, the way the handles after yellow or long yellow after a long green flag run like that. But our indoor stuff on Maxes, once the tire gets hot, it gets faster. Like go-karts start picking up, but then you have a long yellow like that, and it'll start backing up again, and it'll take time to pick back up.
So you want to see basically you want to see those long green flag runs.
Yeah,
is what you're looking
yeah.
at. But, well, do they get a lot of those, or is it like, just say there's a yellow, and I've seen, man, it turns into a cluster sometimes on a stock car track. But do guys, are they better at, knowing where they are, everybody, or is the officials right on top of the lineups, or?
Yeah, go-karts, most of the time they stop us. Like, the yellow will come out and they'll try to get us stopped the next time on front stretch and get us all lined back up, get us back rolling, and then get us back green as soon as possible.
Well, that's pretty cool too. I know I'm stuttering. I don't know why. But it's pretty neat that you can. It seems like a springboard as to learning how a race works, because a lot of things in that side of it will translate to what we do under cautions and this and that. Knowing where you're at on the track, watching the flagmen. Speaking of the flagmen, are they? Is it different? Do they flag the races different, or are they same? Or
not really. It's mostly the same, except for your lap cars and go-karts. There's times that they'll just black flag lap cars as soon as you get to them, and there's sometimes that they'll just give them a move over flag. That's really the only thing that changes.
So, you're talking about, is that, they want to get a cart off. Now, when you get black flagged in a kart race, is it different than in a stock car race, or?
It's mostly just get off the track as soon as possible. It's pretty much the same.
So that you've either got a problem or you're just not running. Is there a minimum speed that they try to get you guys to run, or is it just?
It isn't really a minimum speed, but like, there's sometimes like indoor racing, especially like lap carts will get in the way of the leaders and mess up a race, which is the same thing with stock cars. But there's times in go-karts that they'll just try to get them off the racetrack as soon as possible instead of them screwing up a race.
Now, do you find that working lap traffic is different? Is it harder in a go-kart, or is it?
I don't.
Because I know you guys you really like to run a groove.
Yeah.
In a cart. So is it, whereas we have the benefit of the stock cars, you can, sling way out to the top, you can run the bottom. But is it different, dealing with lap traffic, or?
I don't find it a whole lot different. Like, most of the time in go-karts, if you're fast enough that you're pulling away from everybody else, most of the time you're not going to have a whole lot of trouble getting by lap carts.
So you find it easier to just, you can ease around them.
Yeah.
Maybe give them the old.
Yeah, sometimes you got to get them out of the way, especially if you know that somebody's pretty close to you. You got to get them out of the way as soon as possible.
Oh yeah, that's. Do you know? Are you able to tell, or like, how do you in a race car? Me personally, I try to listen and I can hear the engines.
Yeah.
But is it the same in a go-kart, or do you just catch them?
You can sometimes hear them in go-karts, but normally, if you get like somebody standing up in turn 3 or something, giving you signs, that way you can tell. Now, sometimes it is hard to look up there, especially in stock cars. It's really hard to look up there because of the way the fences are. But it's a little bit easier in go-karts if you can just make yourself kind of glance up there every lap and watch for somebody giving you signals.
Well, there's both good and bad things here in the same point that I want to say. In a stock car, you do have all that roll cage around you. But then in a stock car, you have all that roll cage around you. Whereas a cart, you don't. So, safety-wise, a little more sketchy to me.
Yeah. But
the good thing about that is your field of vision is so much better, it would seem like.
Yeah, it's a lot easier to look around to your left and right and stuff in a go-kart, but it's also easier to look up at the fence, like you said. Like in a race car, it's real hard to look up there at the fence while you're racing because you really can't see that well up there by the fence.
Do you have a hard time, like, you talking about, with the way you enter corners, because again, you guys you like your groove, like your one groove, and is it harder? You find it harder to get into the corners and driving through the corners in a race car, or do you translate it with some of your stuff that you've learned in the karts?
I don't find it a whole lot harder. Normally you can watch whoever's in front of you and see where they're running and kind of help yourself out with that. And you can do the same thing in a go-kart. Like, if somebody's kind of pulling you a little bit center off, you can kind of watch what they're doing on entry and try to help your center off speed too. Right.
Well, another thing I want to ask you about, we were talking about your day in the life at the track. Do you have any rituals that you go through that's something when you, and this could be on either side, the stock car side or the kart side, that you have to go through, that you just must do that, or you must take this with you, or you got a lucky rabbit's foot hanging on the steering shaft, or it could be anything?
I really don't have anything like that, but I always want to check over my stuff, like on a go-kart, try to check over everything as soon as I get there, check over all the weights, and kind of same thing with the race car, try to check over everything whenever you get there. That's probably the biggest thing to me.
Well, I want to liken that to something that Josh Harris, we had him on a couple episodes ago, and he talked about preparation and not the medicine, mind you. But no, preparation via, everything that you can do. Because, when we got here, you're working on your car. Going to try to race this weekend. And do you find that it's better? It's obviously better to be prepared, but, you personally, is that very, very important?
Yeah, like go-karts especially, you kind of got to, you start a lot earlier, so you kind of got to have everything ready that day, kind of ready to go. I mean, obviously putting fuel and oil in them and stuff like that, but race cars, you pretty much have all that done whenever you get there. Like, you really don't have to do a whole lot whenever you get to the racetrack with a race car until you get done with practice and qualifying and stuff like that.
So now, do you change things? How do you deal with track conditions? I guess do you have to adjust like we do on the race cars in between your practice sessions, your qualifying? Do you have like a practice trim and then a qualifying trim like we see in NASCAR?
Yeah, we really don't have anything like that. Like, we'll move weight or move cross or change caster camber. Like, that's real easy to change in go-karts because you just have your washers. You just kind of move them around however you got to change cross. And, I mean, stuff like that. We'll move weight to change the way the go-kart's handling. That's pretty much mostly all we do in go-karts.
So you don't have to jack down on the wedge bolts
No.
or, is tire pressure, I don't want to get back into the tires too much, but is tire pressure important?
Yeah, that's a big thing in go-karts too. Like, you change a half a pound and it could completely change the way the go-kart handles.
Well, and are they that sensitive? I mean, really, do they react like just a half pound of air?
Yeah, because, I mean, there's times that will go from a pound split to a pound and a half split and it'll free up the go-kart. Like, it's just stuff like that, like small stuff like that changes a lot more in go-karts.
Well, you being such a young driver, and it's crazy to think that you've got so much experience and being as young as you are. Think about some of those kids that you see at the track, and some of the kids that are in the stands, even at the stock car side. But based on your life experience and your racing career so far, what advice do you have for those kids?
Take whatever opportunity you can get and get in racing. Go racing as often as you can. Try to look up to guys that you know can help you and try to get with them and get them to help you out with things that you're struggling with.
Well, and John Hayden said the same thing, is it's all about who you surround yourself with.
Yeah.
And I know you've got a ton of people that go with you, and especially, Josh Evans being a mentor, I guess, and a fellow racer himself. Have you learned most of your stuff from him?
Yeah, in go-karts, he's pretty much taught me everything I know in go-karts because he's helped me since I was 4. And he's always been there with me, teaching me stuff like trail braking or letting off here and there, or trying to change the way the go-kart handles during the race, just stuff like that. He's taught me everything like that.
Well, talking about that, trail braking and different things, do you try to approach each track, and when you're in your practice sessions, and the track's going to change, but do you approach it like you set your marks on the track, where you want to brake, where you want to, roll center, different things like that? Do you approach the track that way, or do you have a certain way you approach each track?
Yeah, in practice, once you roll out there, you can kind of tell yourself, like, especially once you make like a lap, just kind of being easy with it the first lap and learn how much bite the track has and stuff like that. And it's kind of just how good your stuff is. Like, if your stuff is really good and you know that, you can drive it down into the corner a lot deeper and maybe burp it or get on a brake later. But if you know your stuff isn't like really good, then you kind of just try to change your line and make the go-kart better as much as you can.
So I guess you spend a lot of time during a race searching for grip, or is there kind of you just know where the grip's going to be?
You pretty much just know where the grip's going to be in go-karts because, I mean, everybody will run mostly the same line. Like, you might enter the corner a little bit different or come off a little bit different, but it's mostly the same spot.
Well, now, when those guys are in a line like that, and we talked about lap traffic earlier, but, lead lap traffic. Everybody's in a line. Everybody's trying to get the same real estate. Everybody's trying to run the same place. Do you find yourself just having to be more patient?
There's times you have to be patient, but, I mean, indoor stuff, you kind of try to make yourself be patient, try not get stuff tore up. But once you know it's getting later in the race, you got to go. That's whenever you just kind of have to start doing what you got to do to get up through there.
Are you able to kind of bump people a little bit and give them a bump and run?
Yeah, I mean, that happens a lot in go-karts. Just kind of maybe get in the left for a little bit and get up underneath of them. Just stuff like that. And especially entering the corner, you always try to hold them out as far as you can. Try to, drag the brake a little bit and try to keep them out there as long as possible. That way you can't get back underneath of you coming off the corner.
So you talk about side-by-side racing. If the guy's trying to go around you on the outside or you're passing a cart on the inside or whatever, you have to try to approach it different. And it's a game of trying to keep those guys where you need them to be.
Yeah.
To make your line.
Yeah, I mean, that's a big thing, and just trying to work by them without, I mean, if you get too rough and then somebody ends up spinning out and you're taking a chance on getting put to the back for it. So just trying to be patient and stuff like that, not getting yourself put in bad situations.
So now, are there penalties in karting?
If you go in there and just plumb run over somebody, you're probably going to get put to the back for it.
Does that? I would assume that happens. It's
yeah,
the reason
it
why
happens.
There's a rule.
It happens.
So, it seems like guys would want to be a lot more patient because it does seem a lot more dangerous. You not being able to have safety equipment other than a helmet and different.
Yeah, I mean, there's times like if you're flipping in a go-kart, you want to try to get out of the go-kart and get away from it because if you're stuck in it, it's just going to keep coming down on you over and over again. But in situations like that, you just want to get away from it as fast as possible.
Well, while we're on that, have you ever had situations like that? Have you been in those predicaments?
I haven't flipped a go-kart yet, and luckily yet. Hopefully I don't ever, but I've had a couple bad wrecks. I've been one go-kart, stuff like that.
Well, because you guys run with those Uke tires, just like we do in the race cars. And I can speak from experience of a guy who's been on his lid a couple of times. I was thankful to have that roll cage.
Yeah.
I couldn't imagine coming down on my noggin and trying to get away from something flipping. And even carts are, coming at you.
Yeah. You're just taking a risk every time you hit the racetrack. And that's why you got to watch guys around you. Guys, you've watched them before and kind of know how they drive. And you're just trying to keep yourself out of situations like that.
Well, do you have any good stories from the track? Stuff that you thought was just crazy or funny or anything like that over the years that you remember?
I remember Sykeston, Missouri in the 20,000. I came from 23rd up to second, and I fell back to sixth, and then a couple of them spun out in front of me. That's whenever I bent that go-kart. It was a concrete wall, and then they had safer barriers up around it. And I ended up getting stuffed in the wall coming off 4 and that.
So, is it different whenever you bend a go-kart chassis versus, I know we can put race cars on frame machines and different things, but is it different, are they just junk? Or
Normally whenever you bend a go-kart, if it's just a caster block or something, you can try to straighten it, but there's no, guarantees that the cart's going to be anything like it was before because it could have twisted or anything like that.
So you just pretty much either have to get a new chassis or you can't really repair it.
Normally, if you bend a frame, as long as it don't tear it up really bad, normally you can get, say you bend the right front, normally you can get a frame and just replace everything on the right front, but keep the same axle and stuff like that.
So is it weldable or do things bolt together different than?
The frame is obviously all welded together, and then just you got your bumpers and everything like that bolts on.
So a lot of parts are interchangeable. And,
Yeah.
it's a little easier. It seems like it would be easier to work on, considering you guys can put them up on the stands and just work on. Thinking back again on your time around the track and just from when you were a kid to now, ever get to rub elbows with anybody famous or anybody? You ever get to meet anyone at the racetrack that's?
I met Ken Schrader before and guys like that kind of race modifieds in and out. That's mostly the only guys I've met like that have been pretty famous from around here.
Well, Kenny Schrader is when you think about dirt guys, Kenny Wallace, and some of those guys are top notch. I mean, you look at all the success they've had off the dirt, and for those guys to, they hit as many local tracks as they can, and that's pretty cool because they're getting fan interest and things like that. So. That's pretty neat that you've been able to just hang around and jaw with him. Did he have any good stories? Did you get to ask him about anything?
No, I didn't really get to talk about anything like that. I just remember meeting him. It was at Tri-State Speedway whenever I met him.
That's a good track, and a lot of times I've seen a lot of your dad racing over there.
Yeah.
So I know they love that track for a long time. So, well, we're going to throw it to another quick commercial break, and we'll be back on the other side. We're going to get into the state of racing with Cole Falloway.
Are you looking for a hometown barbershop specializing in the best haircuts in Western Kentucky? If so, Master Barber Chad Thompson has everything you need to keep you looking sharp for not only your special occasions, but for everyday wear as well. Offering a line of hair care products to take care of your hair in between cuts, walk-ins are always welcome, and you're always going to find friends and neighbors at Chad's. You can find him at 10655 Highway 764 in Whitesville, or you can give him a call at 270-903-8183.
And we're going to be back with the white flag on this here episode with Cole Trickle Falloway. What I want to get into now, something we always do with everybody, it's a staple of this show, we're going to get into the state of racing, man. You think about racing from the kart side, and you can also talk about the stock car side, and we encourage you to do so. You think about what we're doing and what you see at all these tracks, and just as, a competitor, but as a fan too. What do you see as the state of racing? Do you see it as thriving? Do you see it as struggling? What's your take on it?
I mean, obviously, like whenever you go to them big races and you see a lot of kids in the beginner classes, then it makes you feel like, then there's a lot more kids coming up through the sport. And whenever you see a lot of kids in like junior classes, but I mean, some of these local races you go to and there ain't but 2 or 3 in all the junior classes, then it kind of makes you think, well, it's kind of dying. But I don't think it isn't going down anytime soon. But just getting more kids into it and bringing them up through here like I did is probably the biggest thing.
You think about that and getting these kids in here and your big races. Do you think it's a money thing, or do you think that are we not, and you say locally, there'd be 2 or 3 guys or, 5 guys. What's the disconnect there? I mean, what's the difference? Do you see a difference? Can you think of anything?
I don't think there's a whole lot of a difference. Money has a little bit to do with it, but once your adult classes too, once you start putting up a lot of the money, then you start running some of your local guys off because they think they don't have a chance to come there and race against the guys that are coming in for the big money. But I don't see a big difference. Like, just sometimes in your area there isn't as many kids coming up through it as there is in some of the other areas.
So, is it a difference in how, races are run? You look at, we talked about it a few minutes ago, how a race is run or a series sanctions it, or they have their own officials. Look at that versus some of your local tracks around Greenville and Russellville and all that places. Is there a difference in the way they run the shows?
Not a whole lot of difference, but if you have like some of your local stuff that kind of makes a bad name for themselves the first night out and just kind of, or like even the first few weeks out, just kind of runs the show real slow and doesn't get on a roll, then they're probably going to start losing go-karts until they start getting it going and start making a better name for themselves again. But that's the same way with the series too. Like if the series come out and put on a few bad shows right off the bat, then they're probably going to lose go-karts there for a while.
Yeah, and it's important to think about that, from a standpoint of was it the series fault, series officials' fault, or was it just circumstances that caused this to happen? Because we don't, obviously we want guys to give them a break if they can. And I think, do you see it that way? I mean, just guys could be a little more patient with the track promoters.
Yeah, I mean, some people will just kind of look at it, base it off the first race, but I think the biggest thing is probably giving it 2, 3, 4 races and seeing how it goes, like, overall. Because, I mean, sometimes, yeah, your first night out is probably going to be one of your worst nights because you just kind of ain't got everything smoothed out yet. But from there on, as long as it's getting better, I don't know how people can judge it off the first night.
Yeah, and and that's the problem with a lot of things is people they're so quick to judge these days, and I think that's a big difference from years ago. I know you weren't more of an adult like you are now. Back in the the late '90s and the early 2000s, and the way different racing was, but what do you like about local racing? And I want to hear about the kart stuff, and I kind of want to hear about some of the stock car stuff. What do you like about how shows are ran, or what we're doing in this area?
The go-kart stuff, just, I mean, you go and you kind of know a lot of the people there just because they kind of live around you. And then just the way the shows ran, like, most of the time over at Rio, they normally get it on the road pretty quick. Like, they don't really waste a lot of time. Then the race car stuff, just kind of same thing. You know a lot of the people there. It's not like you're going 4 or 5 hours away and you don't know hardly anybody there. Because that's a big thing in go-karts too. Like, you're traveling all that way, and if it's not like a series that you've been running, then you're probably not going to know a lot of the people there.
What is the camaraderie different? You think about the way you interact with guys at the go-kart track. Is it a closer knit bunch of guys or girls, and versus the stock car side where everybody's kind of doing their own thing, and you just have a couple of guys kind of in there together? Or?
I find it pretty close to the same. Like, the biggest thing in go-karts is Josh might have 3 or 4 customers that he's trying to do tires for that day, not just kind of everybody doing their own thing. Or like 3 or 4 guys that he's trying to help with tires that day and telling them what we're doing, trying to figure stuff out for that day. It's like you kind of have your group at the go-karts, which you kind of know a lot of the people there, but you kind of have your group too that you are a lot closer with than other people.
So you guys, I mean, on a standpoint like that, you're talking about Josh helping 3 or 4 different people. Now, does he sell parts and things like that, and then he helps them, or does he just, somebody comes up and asks his advice, he'll drop what he's doing and go help? Is that?
Yeah, I mean, it's more like tires. Like, he'll have tires that we bring home with us, like other people's tires bring home with us after the races, and he'll redo them and refinish them, and then we'll take them back with us wherever we race next if them people are going.
So you're able to keep in contact with people like that, and he kind of does that for a lot of the guys. Yeah. Well, okay. On the other flip side of this, now you think about both aspects of racing. Is there things that we could change around here? Are there things that you see that, man, it doesn't seem like it's working? Because it's just, we're trying to get a dialogue. We're not bashing any tracks. We're not bashing anybody, any promoters, but we're just things that you could see that maybe, if I'm thinking about it, I could do it different, or I would do it different.
I mean, there's some things like, prices, getting in the pits, just stuff like that could probably be cheaper, but they kind of keep them raised high. Just not saying that they could do it for nothing, but you got some tracks that you're only paying $10, $15, $20 to get in the pits, and you got some that you're paying $30, $35 to get in the pits. Just kind of stuff like that might run people off instead of bringing them in.
So now, you think about go-karting. Is there a standard pit price? Is it cheaper than when we race stock cars, or is it about the same?
It's probably actually more, because some of the race car tracks are starting to do this now, but every go-kart race you go to, you have your pit passes to get into the pits. Then you have your entry fees for each class, but your entry fee goes to payout at the end of the night. Like, say it's a 5,000 win race, you're probably going to be paying a $60, $75 entry fee just to run that class.
So now, on a standpoint like that, your pit gate is pretty much going to go support the track.
Yeah.
But your entry fees are going to go support the payouts.
Yeah.
Which is how they break it down.
Yeah, that's pretty much how go-kart tracks do it.
Well, looking at that on the stock car side, we're already paying $30, $35 to get in the pits.
Yeah.
And I don't know how a lot of guys would be like, well, yeah, I'll kick in. I'll pay another $50 to race in my class tonight. I think it would be asking a lot of guys.
Yeah, it really would be, especially like your local stuff trying to do that too. Because, like, a lot of your bigger races in go-karts where you're paying entry fees are, like, higher dollar entry fees. But, like, local stuff, you're really not paying very much.
So now, is that a standard at most go-kart races to where you have to pay entry fees?
Yeah, almost, like, pretty much every go-kart race you go to, you're paying entry fees.
And that is per class, or is that just one entry fee for the night? Or
that's per class. Like, each class you pay an entry fee for.
so on a night that you're running 3 different classes, I mean, you're looking at, it could be a $200 night. By the time you're done, you know, between fuel and things. I mean, that's we think about the go-kart, I mean, the stock car stuff, and how we think it's expensive, and we're just poor racers, man. I mean, we are, and and that just seems, it's crazy to think it's that much different.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's times in go-karts that we'll have $200 in entry fees by the end of the night, or especially like our 2-day shows, like Batesville. I think we had almost $500 just in entry fees to run our classes.
Man, and now what was the payout though? I mean, was that the big?
Yeah, it was a big race because I ended up winning the big race that weekend. It was $2,500 to win in heavy.
So I mean, covered a lot of your entry fees, but I mean, I couldn't imagine, and I know your parents probably could speak to this more, but the going up and down the road money and having to pull the trailer and this and take the carts and or the the camper and things like that, it seems like it would be kind of pricey to go somewhere.
Yeah, it's definitely pricey, especially whenever you're traveling that far. But a lot of whenever I have a good weekend, like I was this winter, like we had 3 or 4 really good weekends this winter. It pretty much paid for the whole weekend.
And that's pretty neat too, that you can be able to, and they offer that.
Yeah.
Because I think a lot of what we're looking at on the stock car stuff is, and I'm not a promoter, so I could say, hey, give them 1,000 win every week, but it's not my money.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so, whereas we would love to run for 1,000 every week, we can't. And so, we don't know what those guys think. But what I want you to do now is I want you to put your fantasy promoter hat on, and this is you're going to be looking at being a track owner. And what are some of the stuff that you would want to see in this area? Like you can think about events, specialty races, different classes that we don't normally run here, big name classes, different forms. I mean, what would you think in your mind that you could fantasize that would be cool around here?
I think, like, to help, like, how many cars are in each class. Like Brownstown, they only have 2 street stock classes. I think it's like pure stock and super stock or something like that. And they always have big fields. And I think that's, like, something that would really help is kind of narrow down your classes and keep it down 2 or 3 classes instead of having 4 or 5 each night. Because I think that would help keep more cars in each class and not have your fields die down.
Well, and I think that's what several other people that we have talked to have said are they're just too darn many classes.
Yeah.
And sometimes and whereas these guys, especially the Westerfields, we talked at length with Jimmy about trying to get these cars differentiated versus what we run in cruiser / street stock or and then you've got Rusty Bolt and then you've got Bomber. And and where does it end? You know what I mean? To where these cars are so close, and a lot of people from the grandstands have complained too about being, there's so many classes of cars. Well, didn't we just watch this class?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, I could see where you're onto something there, that maybe we do run too many classes of stock cars. I mean, you think about mini stocks are different, and your modifieds are different. But would you like to see some of these tracks start bringing combo shows in to where they run, you can bring your kart stuff in and run a combo show with the stock cars, like half a day, or run all the stock car stuff and then transition all the go-kart stuff, or vice versa? Or
I think it'd be hard, but it'd be cool at the same time. It'd just kind of be hard because a lot of these tracks are honestly, like, we've raced on tracks that big, but they're almost too big for go-karts. So you'd almost have to have a smaller track, or like Bardstown, Kentucky, they have their go-kart track, and then it's like not very far away, they have their stock car track too.
Right.
But I mean, stuff like that's cool, but it's just kind of hard to run go karts on the same track as stock cars.
Well, and I was getting to that point as well, but looking at maybe if they had an inner bull ring, you got Windy Hollow, and then like around the lake, you could have your go kart track. Is that something that would be pretty neat?
I think it'd be cool. Just how long are go kart days? It would almost be easier to do it like a Friday and Saturday show instead of trying to do it one day because, like, you obviously have your stock car shows, but your go kart shows are always a lot longer, especially if there's a lot of go karts there too. They're going to be a lot longer.
Well, when we got here, the Lucas Oil Late Model Dirt Series and some of this stuff were on there. The late models. Thinking back on just being a fan, you like to go to the races, and if you're not racing, do we need to try to bring in some of these other people, like some of the sprint car stuff, the late model stuff, the old school, the different races to where, they pull the trailers and crash and do whatever, is there any stuff, some of the stuff that you would like to see?
I think like sometimes stuff like that would be cool, but also bringing in like your modifieds, your big shows like that, and your late models, and your mini sprints, just kind of, or sprint cars too, just bringing in stuff like that and kind of keeping them switched out. Plus your regular classes every week would kind of keep fans bringing in and out too.
So you could see it as when you've got your local tracks and you've got your meat and potatoes classes that you run every week, your weekly series. But you could see, whereas these tracks maybe, because Windy Hollow runs a limited schedule versus maybe Cedar Ridge.
Yeah.
These guys maybe every other week, so they don't run for 2 weeks. Well, we come back, we've got the Ohio Valley Lightning Sprints. And then, they're not going to run for another 2 weeks. And we come back, we got the AMS series, and the modifieds. Is that something that maybe they can look at, is tacking on those big exclamation points on their local nights of racing?
Yeah, I think that's a big thing. Like, just kind of keeping, like, your big classes, like your AMS series, always traveling different places. Like, just kind of bring them in on different weekends, and then have your lightning sprints, obviously, on different weekends. Just having big shows like that, separate weekends, or, say, 2 weeks or a month apart. Just kind of keep your fans bringing in something different every weekend.
And I know you as a driver, and me is the same way, we love to race, and we love to race stock cars and things like that too. But, you look at it from a standpoint like that, and how do you think it works better when a track, and you can think of Tri-State Speedway the same way, a track that runs a limited schedule versus a track that tries to run every night for 5 months? I mean, every week for 5 months,
I think the limited schedule actually helps more, because if your fans are going and watching the same thing every week, they're eventually going to get tired of going and watching the same thing every week. Like Tri-State, they race twice a month or whatever they race, and they always have a big crowd there and a lot of cars. And I think once you keep it that limited schedule like that, it's kind of keeping your fans in and keeping your cars coming in too.
Well, and I know that Tri-State, we can look at Tri-State as a model racetrack, running a limited schedule, 2 classes, pretty much. If they ever run any more than that, it's usually 3. But that's it. They do not run a stock car class, which to me is sad. I've always wanted to run a Tri-State Speedway. I really have, and I think it would be fun. And I hope, I don't know if you feel the same way, but again, they're in a bubble because they do basically run modifieds and sprint cars, and they have the late models come in like once a year. But then again, you're right. I guess I could see where people, say, hey, it's the same race I watched last week.
Yeah.
The same race I watched last week. And yeah, it's fun to be at the track and fun to see everyone. But, I mean, do you think, you obviously think that kind of will burn people out?
Yeah. And then, like, even especially if you have, like, your same guys that are winning most of the time, unless, like, you're always going to have some of your classes that have a good race, but if you're having, like, your same guys win every class every weekend, people are especially going to get burnt out on it.
And, and that's not taken, and then you can look at that 2 ways.
Yeah.
The same guy wins every week, but, he's probably very talented,
yeah.
And especially with some of the talent we've got around here.
Mm-hmm.
And, do you look at that at the go-kart side? Do you have a lot of repeat winners, or do you have guys, I mean, it's just like a crapshoot every night that these top 10 guys, any of these guys can win a race?
A lot of our go-kart stuff, because you're always having like such a strong field, a lot of the times, like anybody from top 5 to top 10 could have a chance at winning the race. Like on every weekend. I mean, like, you're always going to have your guys that are better at certain tracks than other tracks, but you always have that top 5, top 10 group of guys that can win on any given night.
So now they don't really have. You don't really have a weekly racing series or just a weekly track that you're just like, okay, it's Friday night, we're going to Greenville. And,
Yeah.
Next Friday night we're going to Greenville. Next Friday night we're going to Greenville. You don't really have that.
No, normally, like I said, we'll just kind of travel to wherever the money's at that weekend. Like, sometimes there will be money in 2 places, but we just kind of got to decide on where we want to go that weekend, which a lot of times your tracks will work together and try not to schedule, like, races very close to each other, over top of each other. Like, that way you kind of get your guys all going to one place instead of other places that weekend.
So what you're saying is these guys are working together. Different tracks are working together. Is that is it something we've seen that maybe people have talked about that might work here?
Yeah, especially like our local stuff, because I know times we get certain tracks running over top of each other every weekend. I think like that limited schedule would probably help if we had like one track running the first weekend and third weekend of every month, and another track running the second and fourth weekend of every month.
And that would be mutually beneficial to both tracks, considering that they could not split the cart count. Well, you look at that, and I forgot to ask you about this earlier, and we got into the rules packages. And you say there's not a whole lot of difference in rules, or do you have to change things? Do you know that it's okay, they don't allow that there or this here?
It's mostly the same rules. Like, we have AKRA and NKL different motor rules, but like most of our stuff around here is AKRA, so we mostly just have our motors built for that and run the motors around here.
So then you don't have to do a lot of changing. You can load that cart up, and you can drive 3 hours away from here or 30 minutes away from here, and you've got fairly close sets of rules.
Yeah, it's pretty much the same. Just the only big difference is motors, and then sometimes you have to run like a different tire brand at that track than other tracks.
So it's not, but nothing that would like, okay, you can't run a 4-barrel carburetor here, but you can run a 2. You got to run it here, or you can't. You got to run 70 series tires here, 60 series.
Yeah,
they don't have things.
No,
like
we don't have anything like that in go-karts.
Well, man, I got to tell you, I have learned a ton today about the karting stuff, and it just seems like you are so passionate about it, and you're having a great time, which is the main thing.
Yeah.
But you're having a great time with your family, and that's pretty neat. That the Falloway family, again, we talked about earlier, goes back a long way. And, for what they've done in racing and what they're still doing in racing and supporting it, that's pretty neat, man. I want to real quick touch on, you run the number 66 pretty much in both things that you run. I know your dad ran 99 for a long time. Tell us how the 66 got started.
I was always number 99, like back whenever we was racing DuCoin, back whenever I was younger. And the biggest thing that got me to change this was most of the time we go to track and have 3 or 4 number 99s there, and we'd all have to put on 199 or 991. And then finally that year, Dad ran 66 in his modified because Papa and Charlie both turned 66 that year. And I was like, I'm just going to change my number to 66 because we have to change our number everywhere we go.
Well, so, but it's, I guess now, though, you think about what caused the change, but it's very, very sentimental now to you.
Yeah.
Do you find a lot of other guys running 66?
Not really.
Go over put black tape over the thing.
Most places I really don't run into that problem very often anymore. But also, like, Papa, he ran 66, and his dad ran 66 too. And then Dad ran it that year, and I was like, yeah, I want to run that now.
Well, that's pretty cool because, like I said, we saw Ronnie in the number 99 for a long time, especially when he was in the full body stock cars and with the modified stuff. And looking at the pictures, some of the pictures on the wall right now, guys, if you could see it. But that's pretty neat, man. Anything like you'd like to add before we get into your sponsors and all that?
I can't think of anything else. Just try to keep going the route I am. Try to make it up further than what I am already in racing.
Well, on that note, then, where do you see yourself? Do you have a path that you want to follow? Do you have a path in your head?
I really don't have anything right now. Like, just kind of like, if somebody comes along and is like, hey, you want to try to drive this and it's up further, then yeah, I'm going to go drive it, whether it's asphalt or dirt. I always like dirt stuff better, but if asphalt's what I got to do to get up and racing, that's what I'm going to go do.
So now, I mean, where do you see yourself? And I know, here's the thing, man. You're a young kid, you're a young man, and you've got your whole life ahead of you, and it's pretty cool. You're talking about doing some of your engineering stuff, but aside, is that where you want to eventually kind of graduate away from racing and just kind of make it a hobby, or do you want to have your engineering stuff but still be a race car guy?
Obviously, I mean, I want to try to make it up as high as I can in racing, try to do that like as much as possible in life if I can, but I'm going to have my engineering and stuff to fall back on in case I just don't make it that far in racing.
Well, what is your benchmark? Like, okay, so if you come out of the street stock stuff, what's your natural progression? Do you progress into, you want to run a modified, or do you want to go to a late model, or do you want to switch to asphalt and run some of that stuff?
I'd like to run a modified or a late model or stuff like that, at least try it, and then if that's not taking me where I need to go, then obviously go to the asphalt side and try to make it up in there. But if I can make it on the dirt side, then that's really what I want to do.
So now, I just want to ask you this question, and NASCAR, is that one? Is that maybe something you're thinking about, or just those series, feeder series, ARCA? Could be any of that stuff.
Yeah, I mean, that'd be cool too if I could get there one day. But I mean, I just really haven't ever got into asphalt like I have dirt. Like, it'd be cool to kind of get up in modifieds or late models or stuff like that and just keep doing that.
Well, there's a lot of opportunities out there, especially when it comes to open wheel modifieds and late models. Pretty much you can run anywhere.
Yeah.
Most tracks, and you can travel or you can stay local. Well, Cole, buddy, I want you to. I know you've got a laundry list of sponsors.
Yeah.
I've seen your shirt, and the whole back of it is covered in sponsors. So tell us who all you got, man.
I got to start with Bobby Reese for giving me the opportunity to run this car because his car, we just did some work on it and got it ready for us. Falloway's Auto Parts and Sales, Jones Engine Machine Shop for doing all our motor stuff. Right. Perfection Lawn Care, Delbo, he's helped us out a lot. Scott Clippinger Racing. Pops Chassis, Jimmy Rice Contracting, Bivens Race Cars, Third Chance Auto Sales, Josh Evans Racing, obviously. He does a lot for us. Right. And then Charlie, Curtis, Scotty, Greg, Steve, Nick, and my dad and Delbo for everything they do. My mom, too.
So you got a lot of hands in it, and you got a lot of good people behind you. Guys that we've seen around the racetrack, and I know I've seen since I was a teenager like you are. These guys are not going away anytime soon, man, and they're going full steam, especially with some of the young talent like yourself.
Yeah. Yeah, all of them, and then I got to thank Mama and Peppa, too. She didn't even put them on this list.
Mom made the list, guys.
Yeah.
Mom made the list because Cole was in school and he was working on the race car, so
yeah,
he's got to stay focused on some stuff. Well, Cole, buddy, I appreciate you coming on, buddy, and doing an episode with us and letting us get a peek into where you've been in your life and where you want to go, and it's been a pleasure to hear about and learn some things for sure for me, being just on a dirt stock car guy myself.
Yeah.
But again, man, we appreciate you inviting us down here to the car lot and coming on the show for us.
Thank you for having me.
Well, you're welcome, buddy. And guys, we're going to go ahead and throw it to the end segment of the show here, and we'll come back on the other side of the commercial. Just wanted to take a second here on the podcast to recognize one of our good friends and sponsors. It's going to be Gabriel Kirtley down there at Fairview IT Management. They're based out of Owensboro, Kentucky, and they're here to help you with pretty much any of and all of your computer needs.
Yeah, they offer residential services or business services, whether you want to back your photos up online to make sure you don't lose them, virus management, or if you need some help getting some new technology set up, they can take care of it for you. For your businesses, they offer all sorts of solutions, and all you have to do is give them a call at 270-228-4339.
I think you can probably go ahead and find them online as well.
Yeah, their web address is fairviewitm.com.
And here we are back, waving that checkered flag on this episode. Wow, man. Cole Falloway.
There was a lot to learn.
There was, and I kind of feel like I started out a little spotty there, but we started digging into it after the break there, and man, we got some good stuff out of Cole.
Well, I think for me and maybe for a lot of people, go-kart, that's something you do at your nephew's birthday party.
Apparently not.
You know, I think and seriously, I mean, I think that's kind of the idea that a lot of people have about it, and that's not what it is whatsoever. It's apparently a super high-paying sport if you're a winner.
Oh, it is, and they got some lucrative races, and Cole himself was talking about running 20,000 to win.
That's
And
crazy.
they go up to 50,000 that I've heard of. So those are huge races, man. And kart drivers, and apparently there's a ton of them.
Yeah.
There's no shortage of young talent and older talent, guys that are probably former stock car drivers and coming back down and run the ranks. So,
I mean, it's no big surprise that this is super new to me, but I mean, there are apparently a lot more go-kart tracks around here than I knew existed. So,
oh yeah, and some have gone by the wayside, which is sad. But it's a good thing. Rockport Raceway is going to be up in operation. Josh Tyler's taking it over from the Wetsteins, and I think they're going to be helping, but mentor him a little bit on that. But
Cool.
Josh is taking that over, so he's going to keep that one alive over there. So,
well, and as a friend and a sponsor to the podcast, we need to make sure we get over there and patronize his track and take in some of those races when we can.
oh, absolutely, and we encourage everyone to do so as well because we want to have everyone support these tracks. I mean, that's
Sure.
the thing, whether you're a stock car person, whether you want to go to Beach Bend or, Hardensburg to US 60 Raceway and are of the drag race fandom,
Yep.
you want to do that. And, it's just one of those things where if we don't, support them, and we could lose them. I mean, and one sad, and to me, it hurts my heart. Western Kentucky Speedway is not running this year, and Nebo, Kentucky, and hopefully they may get somebody to try to open the track and maybe run a limited schedule or something, and
Right.
and just do some work. The Swatzels, they were really trying, man, and they did a great job. Just behind the eight ball on some things, but take nothing away from them. Hats off to them. They persevered. They ran a whole season. Just not like it used to be.
Right.
But that's okay. I mean, like I said, we're happy to have a place to race.
Sure,
And-
absolutely.
And we've got to be happy to have a place to race. So
Let's jump back to Cole for a minute. I mean, since this is his episode and everything.
Right.
Straight A student.
yeah.
Straight A student has time to race, not just in one class of car, not just one type of car. I mean, go-karts and stock cars.
Yeah.
So, he's
Plus work on them and do his homework and
college
he's
credits.
engineering. He's going for engineering, and that's, hey man,
I mean,
we need engineers.
Well, you hear people talk about all the time how, young people have no drive or no ambition. I think that if you stand him up in front of any of these people, he will absolutely prove them wrong.
Oh, absolutely, and heck of a nice kid. We got to call him a kid because
He's under 18.
he's not over the hill yet.
But got to
Neither
meet his family.
Yeah.
His mom and dad, super great people.
Well, I've known Ronnie for a lot of years, and I've known I hadn't got the chance to talk to his mother very much, but I have known Ronnie for a long time, and I've known Danny for ever and ever. And Danny used to help me out a lot, so that's pretty cool, man. That they're still in it, and
it's a family that's passionate about the sport.
Well,
and
Ronnie's-
they want to make sure that
Ronnie has made the decision that he's kind of stepping away from the driving.
for
And,
now, maybe.
yeah, I like watching Ronnie drive, but he's doing that for his son, and his son is doing very well, and it's proven to work. So, and they seem to get along, and
Well, and we kind of had that a similar sentiment echoed with John Hayden, doing the same thing with his son. So, I think that says a lot when you can put your attitude and your ego aside and help somebody else, especially your family.
yeah, and that's the thing. You do anything for your children. So
Absolutely.
and that's the main takeaway from that. So, one thing I want to add, Cole was not able to give a shout out to a sponsor, so I want to do that for him, and because we want to make sure all his sponsors get represented on the podcast, and that's Excalibur Racing Engines, karting engines. Carl and Luke over there, always helping him out. He's in close contact with them, and they put they put him out front. I mean, they do a lot for him, and didn't get a chance to talk about him, and we apologize for that. And but we're getting him out there now. So Excalibur Racing Engines, see Carl and Luke if you need some power for that little sled that you drive.
With no cage, no suspension.
That's it. Helmet
helmet
and a racing
minutes
jacket.
away from somebody else, you can reach out and touch them.
Yeah, and so and you can, man. It's close. I mean, you're close. It's not like when you're in a stock car, that guy's 6 foot away from you.
Right.
These guys are dang near in your lap. So, so anyway, just wanted to hammer that home. Excalibur Racing go-karting engines, racing go-karting engines. So, again, make sure he gets all his sponsors out there, and he did a great job.
Yeah, great conversation. It's you can tell that we've interviewed some people who have had a little more time around the track, as it were, in the interview circuit.
Yeah.
So he's learning, and he's expressing what's important to him, and you can hear the passion come out when he talks. So
well, the thing about it for me was, he's short and sweet, man, and there's something to be said for that too.
Yeah.
But in the podcast world,
no, we had a great time.
I didn't want to ramble over top of him because it's his time to shine, and that's the thing, man. That's one of the big takeaways from this is we've got to support these local guys, and we've got to support these up and coming young guns of the sport, whether that be in a go-kart, stock car, drag car, junior dragster, out mud bogging,
Sure.
demolition derby, tractor pulling, whatever you got.
Yep.
I mean that's a big deal.
For sure.
And so that's, and that's a major thing for him to get to come on to the show with us and for us as well.
Mm-hmm.
If not for us is more than, because we need him to help us and we need to try to help him the best
Sure.
that we can. So I think we paid him in good light, and I think he done it. Well, I don't think we had to. I think he did it for himself. I think he did a great job for himself. So, put a bow on that. Been a great episode.
Stick a fork in it.
Stick a fork in it, man. Yeah. We have hit the ute tire, and now we have a flat, and we've pulled off. So, guys, you can find us on Facebook, Conway Racing Team. Again, we're going to do a giveaway. We're going to do one. If you can get us to 300 on that page, we're going to do two. We're going to get passes to Windy Hollow and hopefully food voucher to the Slide Job Cafe and likewise for Cedar Ridge for the likes on the racing page.
We haven't come up with the whole details of how the giveaway is going to work. It's probably going to be similar to the one we did previously
for the gift card.
Gift card for Roadhouse.
Probably do a Facebook Live, and we'll count up all the names of the people that like the page and try to.
So we're just diving in, just gonna pick somebody from at random.
Well, we can do that.
I think that's cool. Yeah. I mean, no sharing, and we got it. This will be cool.
Well, we can either do that or have them like and share.
Off
we'll
the cuff.
figure something. Yeah,
we're wild and crazy guys.
We're wild and crazy guys. Man, a bunch of people's not going to remember that.
Nope.
That's okay. Anyway, you can find us on Twitter at Conway Race Team, Instagram Conway Racing, website www.conwayracingteam.com. Our sponsors here at the podcast and on the race machine, Mach 5 race cars and parts and carts. We don't want to forget that.
Nope.
Fairview IT Management, Martin's Towing and Recovery, Chad's Barbershop, Glenstone Construction, Slingshot Media Group, Red Star Graphics. As always, we're affiliated with Casper Racing, Phantom 309 Racing, and Blaze Melton Racing, BMR.
And High Octane Wraps and Apparel for the podcast sponsor.
Absolutely, and they've come on. Again, we want to say just a quick shout-out to those guys, guy and girl. The Tylers, down there at Special Event Rental on 2nd Street, have come on there, and can't thank them enough for supporting us.
Nope.
So the wrap's gonna look great, man.
They're
doing it. They're knocked it out of the park. So it's gonna be good. If you need to find this podcast, if you just absolutely have to find this podcast,
not that you just listen to it or anything.
That's right.
I mean,
so tell your friends, Apple users on iTunes, Android users on the Google Play Store. You can find us on Podcast Addict, Podbean, Stitcher, Tuned In, Spotify,
YouTube,
Facebook,
our website,
and the website.
Yep. That's all of them.
I think that's got them covered. So, guys, we don't want to ramble anymore. It's been a good episode, as always.
Enjoyed it.
As always, I did. So, anyway, we're going to cut out of here. We appreciate you all listening. Guys, give us some feedback. Let us know. Like the page. Keep the downloads coming. I'm telling you guys, you keep hitting milestones, you're going to keep getting free swag.
We like giving stuff away.
I do like giving stuff away. So, you never know what it might be. It might be, a cup. Some dirt. All the way up to shirts or stickers or whatever. So
Right.
So you never know. But anyway, Wes,
Nathan.
had a great time.
Absolutely. Every time.
That's right. So we're going to close out of here. I'm Nathan Conway. We thank you for listening, as always, for Wes, the Uke Tire Lou Allen. We'll see you next time.